Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone. This is the 2025 quarter one meeting for the National Muslim Endowment Council. We are really excited to have this group together. We met in December first time and excited to continue the conversation. Really quickly, this is our agenda for today. But we're going to switch it up a little bit and go ahead and start with Muhyi's presentation, Gearing Up for Ramadan, Balancing Endowment and Operations Fundraising. Muhyi is the co-founder and chief development officer here at AMCF. He brings a wealth of knowledge about fundraising in general and specifically for endowments. He's going to share with us today. And I was going to go on a long bio, but Muhyi has limited time. But Muhyi has basically over a decade of experience in this area, has worked for a number of large nonprofits, and has been with AMCF from the start. He's our visionary and our trailblazer here at AMCF and a personal mentor. So I'm going to, go ahead and give him the stage since his time is limited, and on the back end, we can take it a little bit slower. Muhyi, thanks so much for, oops, I think it jumped a little too fast. Thank you so much for taking the time
Appreciate
to present. I'm going to go back to the beginning of your presentation, not the end. Here it is.
No worries. Thank you so much for the kind words and introduction. And apologies, I am traveling today, so just taking this from the airport. But recently, found some inspiration in Morocco when I was visiting Al Qarawin. And many of you know that it's one of the first endowments in Islamic history set up by Fatima al-Fiqhi and Andalus Mosque set up by Maryam al-Fiqhi, two sisters who came into wealth but decided to do something beneficial for the community with it. And I look back, as starting AMCF in the United States, like definitely hoping that inshallah one day it can rise to that rank and that level of perpetuity. And that's why we have these endowments that we do. And so honored that you trust AMCF with your endowments. So jumping into it, just going to talk a little bit about what you can do over the next few months to prioritize your organization, make sure that you are considering funding opportunities specifically for your endowment that will not affect your operations goals. So essentially what we want to do is look at your donors. Make sure that you are looking at historical data. Who are people who have given to you annually, consecutively, who have increased their gift, who have put their trust in your organization. And these longer term supporters, maybe your organization's been around 5 years and they've given for 5 straight years. They're a perfect candidate for you to ask for an additional endowment gift. And it's critical that it is additional, not taking away from operations. And if you've already had donors to your endowment, of course, those are prime people who you want to make sure you're asking again this year. And you also want to look into who are new people that we can invite to support. So maybe even setting up a one-on-one conversation with some of your endowment donors and asking them, do you know of other people who might be willing to support our endowment needs? Now, when you look at how you message each group, it's also going to look differently. So typically for operational gifts, it's showcasing an immediate impact that your services are providing, that their gift helps you achieve. And then for endowment gifts, it's more about establishing perpetuity, sustainability, legacy planning, long-term focus. Typically, you should be able to just do the left and right keys on your keyboard too, if that helps. So essentially, you want to also make separate website pages for each giving type. So if somebody comes to your website, there should be a specific appeal for the endowment that is separate from your appeal for the operations campaign. There should be separate donation forms so that they know when they make a gift to the endowment, it is a restricted gift that is only meant to be used for that. And I know for those of you with AMCF, we can provide you with an endowment web embedded code that you can put on your website. So your donor is not leaving your website. They can still give directly to AMCF's form. AMCF can give you a report of who those donors are. And we want to make sure that whatever language you put on that website, we can look over it, make sure that it is endowment friendly. But you also want to make sure that there are clear call to actions, that you can support it with stories of impact, what you've accomplished in the last year, in the last 5 years. You can even go historical from your organization's beginning to showcase how continued work can happen. And make sure that the website page has different visuals that are appealing. And you want to make sure that there are simple donation options. With our website, with our donation forms through AMCF, people can do a bank draft, they can do a credit card. I think there's even Google Pay, and we can look into other options for you as well. But of course, you're more than welcome to have a donation page of your own that you set up on your own and then transfer those funds to AMCF at a later time. So whatever your organization is most comfortable with. And then just remember that we invest in quarterly cycles. So it's advantageous for you to make distributions to your endowment at AMCF if you are not using our endowment donation form to submit at the end of each quarter. So in December, in March, in June, in September, so that in the beginning of each quarter, we can then invest it in the next cycle for you. And some of that information might change as we switch over to Turner Financial Group and Underlist Capital, where it may be more regular that you can invest, but currently our capacity is at the quarterly investment cycle.
Yeah, sorry to jump in, Marie. Actually, exciting news is we can update that. At this point, we're fully transitioned to the new asset manager, and they have the capacity to take contributions anytime during the quarter and invest it pretty immediately, just for the time that it takes to transfer. So good news there. You don't have to do it quarterly anymore. You could do it pretty much anytime.
One of the many ways in which we're always trying to improve our user experience for our people that support us. So, and again, with the landing page, you can be posting things, testing on social media, maybe do a specific bit.ly short link URL that tracks your clicks from Instagram versus the clicks from Facebook. See which social media is bringing more people to your landing page and sources, so you can test it for your email list and different variables, or you can even send a postcard with a QR code and test the effectiveness of that as well. So you want to make sure that you're integrating these marketing techniques into your donation campaigns. So I think I just mentioned that as well, but just in terms of how this works, you can easily work with bit.ly or so many other platforms that can track your links. And many of your CRMs, if you're sending emails, are already tracking links and clicks. But you also want to make sure that you are connecting your Google Analytics to your web page as well. And so all of those systems are talking and tracking so that you can look at what your conversion rates are. Maybe you send an email to 5,000 people, you get 500 clicks, and you get 50 donations, right? So you want to make sure what that conversion rate is with the 50 donations on the 5,000 people who saw the email. And there are national standards out there that you want to track your averages against. But also for the first 2 weeks of Ramadan, it might be slower than the last 10 days. We just know how our community operates. So make sure that you are sending things not too frequently, but just as gentle reminders through different methods. Maybe a personal WhatsApp message or an email, and then through social media, so that they see it in different formats. Now, you really want to make sure that you personalize things for a longer lasting, meaningful connection. If you are going to be sending post mail, whether it's a postcard or a letter, and you are doing them in-house, meaning that you're um, printing the letters, you're sending the postcards by hand, you're putting the stamps on them, handwrite the name in, handwrite a PS, sign the postcard or the letter yourself. All of that will go a long way, especially for the people that you personally know. I can't begin to say how many times um, I'm talking with a friend and they remind me that, oh, I got the AMCF postcard. Thanks for putting the smiley face on it. Just a little thing like that will go a longer way. And of course, aside from all of that, you want to stick to what the mission is, what it is that your organization is doing that is making a difference in the community. And again, all of those things with a reminder of the impact of the blessings of Ramadan should go a long way to reminding your supporters why they should give. So you want to look into opportunities for maximizing matching gifts. I know at AMCF, we often ask our board members to do a match for either year end or for Ramadan, or maybe we receive a gift from a generous donor, you know, $10,000, $25,000, $50,000. If you're lucky to have a supporter like that, you want to maximize the opportunity to engage those donors and say, hey, we'd like to make a matching gift from your gift. And you send a message to your personal friends asking them to match your support. And the idea being that they can do it for the endowment, they can do it for the operations, but it just helps with the overall sustainability. And you want to, again, get in front of your donors in multiple ways. So you can't just rely on social media or only rely on email or direct mail. Many of you may not have home addresses for people, but you only have an email and vice versa. So you want to make sure that you're integrating your approach and also getting in front of people physically. I know Ramadan is often a contested time. Many mosques may limit who can come to the fundraise at Taraweeh or at an iftar or hosting something, but try to do something, even if it's small, by sending a small gift for Eid or Ramadan or some sort of way to recognize key supporters. And again, you want to make sure that some donors get both an operational and an endowment appeal, but some donors will only get the operation appeal or only the endowment appeal. And you can test, see how they perform. And again, you want to keep the messaging consistent across all of your platforms, and it'll be helpful if you have those tracking links to see how effective they are.
No problem.
All right,
Sorry
very
to
good.
introduce you again. Andrew Tang is from our asset management team from Turner Financial Group. He is the mastermind behind the investment and the market analysis, and he has been so generous with his time as to offer coming on and giving brief market updates. So Andrew is on with the market update for this quarter.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and honored to be able to serve the community with all that we do. So with that said, I want to just talk about what has happened and what got us here. So in a very, very brief format. So we entered the year 2025 with the backdrop of all that has happened in 2024. And let us not forget that 2022 was really the heart of the problem, or what has drove the market and increased all the volatility. It's mainly due to the Federal Reserve trying to fight inflation and has raised rates, the Fed funds rate, interest rate, US interest rates from 0.25% to 4.5%. And so in 2024, we have seen 2 rate reductions because we have the Federal Reserve has received information that inflation, or the effort to reduce inflation, it's working out. And so since the height in, I believe sometime in June 2022, inflation was running somewhere around 9%. So, that was the height of the inflation in our era, in these decades. And the very last month's data, November's inflation CPI data, we were getting somewhere around 2.7%. Now, obviously, the Federal Reserve target is 2%, but we are getting very close. So with that, in terms of the achievement, the Federal Reserve started lowering interest rates. So last year there was one major cut, 50 basis points in September, and then there was another cut by 25 basis points. So that ended the year in 2024. The market has proven to be quite resilient. If we look at specifically the S&P 500 index, the performance has been somewhat, has been different because what's called the Magnificent Seven stocks, or the 7 highest market capitalization companies, have dominated the performance of the S&P 500. So yes, it was very concentrated in terms of the S&P 500. So for those that have invested in the S&P 500, they enjoyed a very nice gain. And keep in mind, the stock market is very forward-looking, right? So with 2025, I can say very comfortably that we have at least 4 more rate reduction, okay, on the horizon. Either is going to happen in 2025, or it's going to drag out into 2026. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that we have a clear vision and a clear path for interest rates to come down at least by 1 percentage points. And typically that is divided into 25 basis points reduction, right? Over the spread of, 4 different FOMC meetings. Now, never in my lifetime that we have a clear vision like that. And when we have a rate reduction on the horizon, or knowing that this is something that's going to be certain, this bodes well for both, stocks and bonds in terms of the investment arena. And so instead of a headwind that we have experienced in prior years, we have some sort of a tailwind. And to add to the tailwind is what happens in November, and what happened in November. So with the new administration coming in, there are several things that we can expect. One is the effort to reduce corporate taxes. Okay, so that will in turn drive incentives and create incentives for companies to bring their businesses back into the U.S. Second is tariffs. Tariffs in a vacuum, when they're carried out fully, it's not good because it can be inflationary and is, executed with a very high probability of inflation. It's not good. But when it is used as a tactics to bring the world leaders to the negotiation table, yeah, that can work. And combined with tax reduction for corporations, it can lead to positive outcomes. But the end results still remain to be seen. The third thing that we can expect is some level of deregulations. So when there are any level of deregulations on the horizon, it will benefit areas like technology, healthcare, biotech, and also finance. The reason why is that there will be an increase in mergers and acquisitions, types of activities, and that is also good for the market. So before I go on and get into too much of a detail, I would say in summary, 2025, it's going to be a continuation of growth in the US specifically. There will be our favor sectors or assets classes. It's going to be somewhere around the non-traditional large cap. It's going to be small cap. Small cap is going to do much better than their previous performances in the previous years. We also like healthcare and biotech space. And that will require a little bit more of a patience. And the continuation of the giant mega caps, especially in the tech sector, will always going to be the leader as well. And so with that said, I will just pause here and see if anyone has any questions. And if you have trouble using a mic, you can also use the chat function and send your question to the group, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andrew. I had a question, if you don't mind, in terms of kind of broad strokes. Where are you seeing growth in this year? I mean, maybe sector-wise or specific companies. What is the projection at this stage?
Could you repeat your question again?
Yes, I was saying, what are the projections, either this quarter or more broadly this year, for what's going to see a lot of growth in terms of either sector-wise or specific companies that you have your eyes on, that you feel like have a lot of potential this year?
The most important thing, it really goes all the way back to 2016 and beyond, where, if I may use this analogy, is that the seeds of innovation have been planted all the way back in 2016, and some experts have already called this cycle. It's a secular bull market. So within the secular bull market, there will be cyclical cycles that will have ups and downs, and very similar to the December Santa Claus rally that never happened, right? And so that was disappointing. And then combined with the year-end tax loss selling and harvesting, and also in January, you're going to see some volatility because there's what's called window dressing for institutions as well. That means what they do is they sell the losers and they buy the winners. Now, in terms of sector, I can't ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is technology, and specifically innovation. And obviously, many of you have talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and I'm sure you have seen it over the headlines. And some people might even say that, hey, I'm getting this AI fatigue because I hear it too often. But nevertheless, it is the main driving force that is advancing not only technology that is applicable across all sectors, but I have to say the whole human civilization. And the reason why is that last year was a very significant year because artificial intelligence, the engine and the large language model, they actually have ran out of data to compute into processing, meaning all of the written material and knowledge that have ever been written by human beings in history has already been used. Now AI is generating synthetic data. So with this said, it means that with the use of artificial intelligence, we're able to uplift our whole entire human civilization's knowledge base forward. Meaning, if we have done the advancing and research development on our own without the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we will progress at a much slower pace. But the fact that artificial intelligence is one, increasing productivity, and two, is increasing in a major way efficiency. And it's not just the techie software and limited to the Googles and Meta of the world. It is going to be applicable across the board. As the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, have largely put it, the first wave of AI growth is in the chips, in the hardware. Those are the early adopters, the hyperscalers. The second growth wave is software, and 2025 is all about software. software that's going to include AI agent. And what I mean by that, that means that the machine learning or the artificial intelligence part is going to work alongside with human to increase the productivity that you are going to achieve anyway. So Copilot, meaning that works with human, Microsoft is having it. You know, you're going to see Oracle Business Enterprise software, also in human resource software, any kind of software that that most businesses use. You're going to see that apparent. You know, it's going to be very obvious, and you're also going to see layoffs and companies that have overhired since 2020 to where we are right now. They're going to start to trim their workforce, and AI is largely behind this reason, right? Not only they're trying to readjust the right amount of human capital, they're also seeing the benefit, which has a delayed effect. They're also reaping the benefit of using artificial intelligence to enhance the productivity of the existing workforce. And so I'm trying to not be so long-winded here. I'm trying to summarize this and do this quickly. And so what we have is a combination of development and the continuation of pursuing efficiency, because I'll quickly add this as well, is that because inflation has come down, largely come down, so companies, when they don't have pricing power, they have to look within. And when they look within, they have to find ways to enhance their operations. And when they do that, what do? They always use technology, and innovation is deflationary. So I know some say that, oh, they're worried that the Federal Reserve is going to start increasing interest rates. The chance of this happening this year, it's extremely, extremely low. And the probability of US falling into recession this year or 2025, I say is near zero. So with that said, it's going to be a matter of how quickly we're going to realize this growth, and you know, how much of upward thrust are we going to see in the markets, because there's going to be sell-off, there's going to be periods of consolidation, but the overall trend is that the earnings growth are going to continue to grow, especially for the constituents of the S&P 500 minus the top 7. Because the Magnificent Seven, the top largest firm, they're starting to see their earnings growth tapering off, and some even slow, because the big part of growth was part of last year's story. And this year's story, it's really about the rest of the S&P 500. The other companies below the largest 7, they're starting to realize and see their earnings growth increase. And largely is not due to pricing power, is due to the increase of efficiency. So that was a lot to summarize. I can talk a lot more. So for anyone who have questions, I'll be more than happy to address them. I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, so thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was incredibly informative. Anyone have questions for Andrew? All right. Well, Andrew, you're welcome to stay on, but you're also welcome to hop off if you need to go on your way. Thank you again for taking the time, and we'll probably be bugging you again for the next meeting for a market update then.
Sure. Yeah, and definitely if you collect the questions that might arise later, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to address it in detail.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Have a good rest of the day.